Welcome to the Everyday Comfort Podcast, where we help homeowners make smart decisions and save money, and guide contractors on building trust, growing their business, and delivering real value. Let's dive into the show.
Hi, I'm Anthony Mound, your host of Everyday Comfort, the podcast built to serve both homeowners and home service contractors. Whether you're a contractor looking to grow your business or a homeowner hoping to avoid costly surprises, we dive into real stories, practical tips, and smart strategies to help you succeed and stay comfortable every day. This episode is brought to you by Trust One, your reliable plumbing and HVAC contractor in Quincy, Massachusetts. Our goal is to provide premier customer service that instills our customers with trust, confidence, and a unique experience. Trust One strives to be the most recommended heating, cooling, and plumbing company in the South Shore. We actually just won the award for a 2025 South Shores Company for Heating and Cooling. To learn more about us and get in touch, visit trustoneservices.com. Today I have Chad Franzen here of Rise 25, who's done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. We've flipped the script, and he'll be interviewing me today. Chad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Anthony. Great to be here. Hey, congratulations on winning that award. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, so we got voted the contractor of the South Shore. So HVAC and plumbing, and so they voted us. It's a votes from all over homeowners all over the South Shore. So they voted us for a heating and air conditioning contractor.
Nice. That is awesome.
Yeah, so the difference between boilers and furnaces. So a furnace, you have hot air that would be coming through a vent. You would have ductwork. It'd be out throughout your entire house. With a boiler, it's either steam. So you'd have steam pipes running throughout your house, and you'd have radiators or convectors. It would be steam convectors. Or you would have forced hot water. So it'd be water running through the pipes, and you would either have convectors, radiators, or baseboards. So you're looking at water versus air.
Mm-hmm. What makes those preferable?
Honestly, I think it really depends on where you live. I don't see many people installing boilers from scratch. Granted, they are a great heating product. We do love them. They're great to work on. They're great for the heating. But most people don't put them in from scratch. So it really depends on where you live, what you have currently. But I honestly, if it were me, I would not rip one out to put in something else. They work really well.
What maintenance would a boiler need maybe that would be different from a forced air system?
Yeah, so with a forced air system, you would clean the burners, you would check all the safeties, you would make sure that the heat exchanger component is good and there's no cracks in it. With a boiler, you would virtually do the same thing. You would check for all safeties, make sure that no devices are starting to fail, there's no corrosion on the pipes. That would be the difference, the corrosion on the pipes. You would make sure that there's enough pressure inside the system. You would clean the burners. And you, like I said before, you check all the safety devices. It's a little bit more involved than a furnace. And then steam is definitely a different story. I recommend doing it's called a skim. So what you do is you would heat the system up, you would skim all the mud and water off the top of the system and inside the system, and then you try to get the water clear. And then there's an alternative solution that you can do. It's called squick. You'd put that in the boiler. You'd let the boiler run for about a week, and then you would come back and flush everything out. So what that does is it goes through the squick solution, runs through all the pipes and gets all the mud and sediment and dirt and everything out of the pipes and brings it back to the boiler so you can flush it out. That's a great solution for systems that are very old that have inadequate heating in certain areas.
Is there ever a time, you mentioned, old ones, is there ever a time where getting it fixed is more expensive than just getting a new one?
Um, no, never really, unless all your pipes are old and have to be repiped. But sometimes the first solution is doing the squick, putting the squick in the system, making sure your pipes are clear. Because if I put in a new boiler, it's just going to produce more condensation and more rust inside the system, and you're still going to have the same issue you had before. So sometimes it's just the system itself and not the boiler. So the infrastructure around the boiler, not just the boiler.
In terms of heating efficiency, how do boilers compare to heat pumps?
When it comes to actual heating,
Yeah.
it really depends on whether it's National Grid or a different utility company. That obviously always is a various factor. But gas is gas. Like if you have a furnace, you have gas. But with heat pumps, it depends on how well the system's installed. But you can definitely have you'll definitely have higher electric bills for sure because a boiler it's not using much electricity to run, and it's all really the design of the system. But you're definitely going to have higher utility bills when it comes to a heat pump versus a boiler.
Are there maybe some like common myths that people often believe about boilers or steam systems?
Myths. I can't really think of any myths. No,
Misconceptions, anything like that?
that you don't have to maintain it. It's probably the first one I would think of. Boilers have to be maintained just like everything else. It's not a set it and forget it thing.
If you're going to have your boiler replaced, how can a homeowner preemptively plan for that?
Yeah, so first thing I would look at is the age of the system. Uh, hey, boilers last, 20 to 30 years. They definitely last longer than a furnace. A furnace typically lasts 10 to 15 years, depending on the furnace. And a boiler is going to last closer to 30 years if it's, an atmospheric one that goes into the chimney. If it's a high efficient system, it's going to last 10 to 15 years. So age is a number one factor, and then also frequent repairs. If you're having constant repairs and the system wasn't done properly from the beginning, then I would definitely consider looking at a replacement over having to keep dumping money into a system that keeps breaking on you.
What kind of maintenance is required maybe for steam versus hot water boilers?
Steam, you're gonna need a little more love. You're gonna want to flush it more often. You're gonna want to make sure it's clear. You want to make sure all the pipes are clear. So you're definitely gonna have to clean more components. There's more components you have to take apart inside of a steam boiler than you do on a traditional boiler. Like a forced hot water boiler, you don't actually have to drain it and drain the water out of it. You might have to do a chemical solution depending if it's a high efficient system. But with steam, you actually have to get the mud and sediment and dirt out of controls because sometimes those get gunked up and can actually cause you to not have heat. So steam's a little bit of a different animal. It requires a little more attention than a traditional forced hot water system.
Are there safety concerns that may be unique to boiler systems?
Yeah, especially when it comes to steam. So with a steam system, there's a thing called a Hartford Loop. A Hartford Loop insurance company came up with this because they had steam boilers that were blowing up. And obviously no one wants a boiler that's blowing up in their house.
No.
So they created this loop on the bottom of the boiler. And so what that does is it keeps water inside the system. So if the system ever runs out of hot water, it doesn't blow up. So it keeps water inside the system at all times. Back in the day, they would run dry, and then you'd get a flame running against cast iron, and it would explode because there's no water in there. So with steam systems, you have to fill those up, and then unless you have an auto feeder,
Hmm.
and then a regular boiler has an auto feeder built into it, but the water doesn't have to be added.
Hmm.
So
Does the quality of the water play a role in a boiler's lifespan?
that two number one things of why boilers fail is one, maintenance, of course, and the second thing is water quality. Water quality is a huge component of how long a system lasts. We've seen system lasts only 6 months because of water quality in the area, whether they have high chlorine, or they have high scale in the water, or hard pressure, hard water, different things in the water that could kill these boilers really fast. So it's important to make sure that if you're in a town that has poor water, that these high efficient systems, they need protection. They need water filtration, they need scale filters, they need magnets. There's all things that protect the system. And cast iron boilers that might last 30 years, they might only last 20 years or even 15 years if the water quality is poor. So definitely very important. We recommend water filtration systems on every boiler we provide, just as a peace of mind and let the customer know and give them knowledge to understand everything.
Is that like a is that like a cost that would deter people, or is it just like if you want a boiler, you have to do it?
Um, we're not going to make anyone or hold anyone down and say you have to do it. It's
Hmm.
definitely highly recommended. We like to
Right.
give customers options. We don't like to give them ultimatums. So we give the customer the option. We explain why it's important. We explain the pros and cons of not having one, and and then they let them decide.
What missteps should customers avoid when they're looking for a new boiler?
Yeah, so it's a funny conversation. So a lot of customers, And I can't blame them for not knowing, is they'll get a quote for a boiler system and then they'll get a different quote for someone doing it correctly, and there's a dramatic price increase. Because when it comes to like a forced hot water system, the pipes should be changed, the pipes should be updated, different components should be updated, and some contractors will only give a price to just swap the boiler out and leave everything else. And then what happens is a month, 2 months, 3 months, or a year later, a component fails, and then they're calling going, "Hey, you just replaced my boiler. Why are the components failing?" And that's because they didn't give them the option to do all the components. So you want to do not just the boiler, you want to do all the components around it, because leaving corroded old pipes around the boiler itself is just going to cause you tons of headaches. So spend a few $1,000s up front and take care of the issue than to wait down the road and actually cause more damage to your boiler.
How do you kind of educate homeowners about proper boiler cycling and controls?
One is we have a tool where we scan all your rooms and make sure that we have the proper size equipment to begin with. That's the number one first step. And secondly is making sure the pipes are sized correctly. And then explaining what we're going to do, because we always like to follow the manufacturer's specifications. We always read through the book. We're always getting updated on new practices and best practices to make sure that the system lasts forever, make sure that the customer doesn't have costly repair bills. If someone else comes out to do the service that's not us, obviously we want you to call us, but if there were to someone else to come out, we want to make sure that they don't have to take a long time repairing things. So we isolate everything. We just like to do things the right way the first time, even if it costs a couple bucks more.
Are there rebate programs that apply specifically to boilers in Massachusetts?
Not anymore. There used to be, but they got rid of them. They really want us to go all electric. So yeah, not anymore.
Hey, last question for you. Just a personal question, I guess. We had our sink broke down in our master bedroom. One of the pipes broke, so we basically just decided to get a new sink. It was probably like 20 years old. And we got a guy come in here, a contractor, and he gave us a quote. He said, "I can probably do it in this amount of time, and it would cost about $400.
Yeah.
Well, he comes in, he ends up having to come back 3 times, and he charges $120 an hour, and it ended up being about $1,200, not including parts.
Oh man.
So I know you guys guard against that.
Yeah, we're a flat rate company. So whatever the price we give you is the price that you get. So if we told you it was $1,200 from the beginning, if it takes us an hour or 4 hours, it's the same price. It really, we like to guard customers' time, and we like to make sure we do it right the first time, and we warranty that thing. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, you will have to pay extra if someone's hourly or materials, and then also you have to constantly watch the clock. You're like looking at your watch, like, oh, how long's this guy been here? What's this bill going to come out to? What are the parts? And then they increase the parts too. They're like, oh yeah, that part that's $20. Why are you charging me $50 for that part? You have to worry about those things as well. So it's better just to have the flat rate, know exactly what it's going to cost before anyone does any work, and then know exactly what it's going to cost at the end.
My wife was working down in our basement. She went up there. He was here wrapping things up yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was staring out the window. That was a bit of a red flag.
So you guys paid for him to stare out the window?
I'm not sure. He didn't charge us for the full amount of time that he was here. So maybe he realized, like, oh, she caught me staring out the window, so he didn't charge us for that.
Did he put on the invoice window staring? 1 hour.
We'll see. But yeah, that's great. That's probably why you guys win awards, that you don't pull stunts like that. People know what they're getting into.
Yeah, we try to be fully transparent about everything.
All right. Hey, Anthony. Great to talk to you as always. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Everyday Comfort Podcast. We'll see you again next time. And be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.